So let us continue with the second part of the explanation for meeting 3, Introduction of Business English. We're going to go with the content of the HBE, the Red Book, yes, and we're going to get started at writing, the Business English writing. Now, because you took writing classes before this, I will not go into deep details on the writing techniques because you have already learned about it and do it on your previous paragraph writing or essay writing classes. So I will not go into that. However, it's just a review of your writing skills so far. So the problem with writing is to get started because you have that blank screen and you don't know what to do. And there are 4 methods that are explained in that book, in the Red Book. The first is the questioning method, the traditional outline method, the brainstorm method, and the writing method, free writing method. So, what should you do? Well, firstly, uh, to get over that writing block, to really start, to cold start your writing, so to say. You need to get started quick. Now, brainstorming and free writing works well for this. The brainstorm, which is the synonym is a ideas dump. You just dump any ideas that you get. Yeah. You write anything related for your topic. For example, let's take a topic about the most successful business in the world. And anything that comes to your mind. For example, Apple, Microsoft, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, money, iPhone, computers. You just write those keywords, yes? And then you make a web of connection, a mapping of ideas. That is not if, but of, a mapping of ideas to give an early idea of structure and to check your focus. How is the writing going to be and whether you are going off the track or not. So by building a web of connection, you know, you get an idea of this. You should highlight ideas that are worth discussing, keywords that are important. Do not remove those keywords yet. And then keep the mapping for future reference. You will need to do this if you want some more ideas, and you can just look at your old mapping and, oh yeah, I haven't talked about this keyword yet it is important. Where should I put it? Stuff like that. The next thing you should do is free writing. Just start to write anything in your head related to your topic. The weakness of this, if you have no preparation, now these two things, requires a very minimum preparation. You can just write and, start to fill up your screen, which is great. But the weakness, if you just free writing, just jump to free writing, is that you can get off the track and not focused enough. Uh, you can talk about, for example, the most successful business, and you think about Bill Gates, and you think about Microsoft, and you think about Windows, and you think about doors, and you think about something like that. And you may not be too focused. You may start with Microsoft, but ending up on Xbox and gaming platforms, etc. And you're not focused on your actual topic. And you will need to do a lot of revision, which is, of course, not efficient. And also, you can focus on things that are not important, not enough writing. And of course, these two are examples of not well-structured writing. And you will, in this case, free writing can get you started right away, but it can cost you a lot of revisions in the end. So to avoid that, do brainstorming first and then free writing. The point here I'm making is that you can use more than one method at the same time. And rather than isolating this method, choose one and only one. I'm saying do not do that, but think of them as steps, if you like. Now, planning ahead. let's talk about the questioning method. The basic questions you should be asking are the 5 W's and 1 H: who, what, why, when, where, and how. The first thing is expect who your reader's audience will be. Like our discussion in the last meeting, you must know your readers and audience. If you do not know your readers or audience, or you want to make sure what kind of audience you have, ask people who know. Now, there's an example, a very good example in the book about this, about Jillian. Yeah, you can read about her, and also the kind of questions that we expect to be getting from our audience will be about what they need to know, the content. Also, think about special details related to the technical aspects of that writing. For example, you choose a topic about the job prospects of language major. You need to provide special details on what actually the people in the language major, us, study in our classes. Those are special technical details that must be considered when you think of the question what they need to know, what the readers need to know, and why they need to know that. You must always talk about the importance of why someone is uh, doing something. Why do I need to listen to something? Why do I need to read this? Why I need to watch that? Now, if you don't give this early in the in your presentation or in your report, people will lose focus very fast because they don't know why they're doing this. When and where that happens, these are details, which is important if you, for example, writing a memo for a meeting, not writing memes, yeah, writing a memo in a meeting. When and where that happens, and it can also deal with the relevance of your discussion. As I say, for example, you talk about a very important, very successful business, but this happens in the Shakespearean age. Okay, it happened in England in around the years of 1400, 1500s. Now, what is the relevance to the current business climate? Why should I need to know that? So when and where can connect to the importance of why we need to know that. And also how. The how here will be not about the process, because that is the description, the what question. The how that we are talking about here is about what's next, about action. Yes, how do we contribute? How do we proceed from that? You're trying to persuade someone to to improve their marketing skills, for example, that the marketing department needs to do more advertisement. You need to also explain in detail how are you going to proceed with that. Do we need some funds? Do we need to allocate more people? Do we need to do some research? How do we continue with that? How do we proceed? How do we contribute? Now that is the questioning method. And the traditional outline, probably this is the most, like you already know all about this in your writing classes. You're using logical arrangement to make things easy and simple. And that is not an easy job. Yeah, to explain things is always requires preparation, always requires knowledge, and understandable for people and efficient. Therefore, it becomes powerful. Now, this is also the reason why I give extra grades for reports that try to evaluate and try to persuade, because they can be very powerful than just descriptions. Yes, than just to inform, you want to evaluate and you want to persuade. Now, what we need to do, now I take this directly from the book, you need to check whether all the topics and subtopics I need to cover already listed in your outline. Are they arranged in a logical sequence? Is there a clear beginning, middle, and ending? Now, different from the previous questioning method, this is very author-focused. It requires a lot of logical thinking and knowledge of the topic. Now, the weakness for these two methods, the questioning method and the traditional outline method, is that it can be long and complex, which is the opposite of easy and simple and understandable, which is the goal of business writing. It can be long and complex. For the inexperienced authors, you don't write too much, or those who do not understand their readers. And probably the worst, what you call it, weakness, is that it requires time to prepare before you start writing. You need to do some research because you have to be logical. You have to know your topic and your audience. Instead of just starting to write and get that blank screen filled up, you're not doing it. You're doing some research. You ask the people, and you're still writing the outline and not writing anything yet, and that can be a bit scary. That's why the book says, some people swear at the traditional outline. They hated it because it gets a lot of time just to start writing. You're not yet starting the writing. You're still dealing with the outline. You're still researching stuff. So, what is the best way? Well, if you ask me, you should start with the brainstorm first, just to get a focus, just to get an idea. And then you should start free writing. And then you reflect back at your writing, your free writing, by doing the questioning method. Taking the perspective of the reader and see whether that writing makes sense or not. And also checking the outline of that free writing. How do I go about discussing that thing? You start to outline the work that you already write and try to make sense of it. See if you can improve it. And probably so. You will need to do a lot of revising. And it is true, yeah, whether you're writing fiction or non-fiction, there is never a shortcut to producing a good piece of writing. Now, of course, this is about producing writing, not just making a writing. You can just copy paste from Wikipedia and copy paste from somebody else's work, and you have a good writing, but is it yours? No, they are not. And the aim here is, of course, to make you as a good writer, not just to collect information, not just to summarize, but for you to write it themselves. Now, to help with that, let us go over to the other book, the blue book. Now, you'll find this on chapter 2 and 3 of that book. Mm, Another alternative, which is actually not very different from the one that we just talked about. Instead of those 4 methods, the Blue Book advises the 4 tasks or 4 steps of writing. The first is the madman. The madman got all the crazy ideas and put it on a list somewhere. So this is very similar to what I put on the brackets there. The brainstorming and the questioning method of the Red Book. So basically you brainstorm, the madman thinks about everything. Now the keyword here is being mad. That is to say, you think outside the box. You think in a non-standard way to get you every possible perspective, every possible ideas that can be a good idea, because your writing needs to be very special. And if you just follow the usual descriptions, the normal, not the madman, but the normal man, you get pretty boring results, So you need to try to be mad, if that makes sense. And also questioning here, that is what I'm saying, that you need to get all the perspectives, including the reader's perspective. And then the next stage after the madman is the architect. After getting all those ideas and putting it in a mapping, yeah, you start to organize and structure. This is similar to the outlining, the traditional outlining method of the Red Book. Yeah, so you start to decide on a focus, decides on limitations for your writing. What do you want to talk about? Yeah, the focus or limitations, yes. And the scope of it. How broad are you going to talk about the material? And the next is the carpenter stage. In this stage, you just write. You don't think, you just write everything as fast as you can. This is the free writing method. So you see, the steps are not quite like what we uh, know from the Red Book. Uh, like I said, the previous one is brainstorm and then free writing, but here you can also do brainstorming first, outlining first, and it starts free writing. So there are always more than one approach to writing, and you need to find your own personal approach that works for you. You're a very methodical person. You don't want to start with outlining, with brainstorming. You want to start with outlining, which is good because you're a very logical person. You're a very creative and a wild person, so you want to be the madman. That works for you. You start with uh, brainstorming or even free writing in that case, and then you revise. The key here is finding your own personal approach that really works for you. And the last stage would be the judge. Now, this is the stage that is always happening. You analyze your work, you polish everything from the mechanics, grammar, content, structure, which is revising, and also the questioning method, getting research, further research to improve your writing. Whatever approach you use in writing, fiction or non-fiction, business or otherwise, in any topic, you will need to judge your own writing and to revise. So it is never easy to produce a good piece of writing, but the point here is that we learn to do so and we start doing so. And that is the whole point, is that you need to get to start writing. So I hope that makes sense. And don't forget that we will have a assignment due next week, which is about your group members and your topic of your presentation. For right now, I want two possible topics. I will decide on which one, yes, so that you don't have double topics with your friends, with your other groups. And also remember that you can still change your group members. You can still change the topic as we go, but I need at least by next week, I need at least your group members and your initial topics. We can change that later, no problem, as long as you tell me about it. So don't just, just on the last minute you tell me that I change my group or I change my topic. That will not work. If you want to change topic, if you want to change group members after next week, you have to let me know immediately. So I guess that's all for this for this explanation for this meeting. I hope that makes sense, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.